Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishna. Here basically we are discussing on the topic that is city creation. City creation basically we are discussing on the topic that is accounts of India. So one person told that accounts of India is there basically. Accounts of religion basically is there across the world basically. Like Indian nationality account. In Indian nationality, each and every religion basically are there. Their accounts are there. So each and every accounts basically are divided actually. Previously also basically previous days also basically the accounts was there basically. It's not like that basically the accounts was not there. But India account basically is connected with the normal public basically. With the normal public. So one person told that like this basically the controls are kept by the certain groups. One person told that Jesus Christ came to India. He visited some cities that many few people only basically might be knowing before corona disease basically. But due to that basically many people died basically. So that basically is not the fault of Jesus Christ basically. Their people basically were not ready. Their doctors basically, their construction industry, their group basically were not ready basically. Their companies group were not ready in India basically, because he came to India basically. And one person told that if the person basically so one of the person told that Christian Indian basically are getting data, that is the money basically from where basically. So they basically were not able to control these people basically. That's why basically Jesus Christ came. Lots of basically people died. So Jesus Christ blood cells basically was supposed to maintain basically, that they have not maintained in India basically. So it's not like that basically that in India basically there are few population of Jesus Christian basically. That means that Jesus Christ basically has visited basically. It's not like that basically. He visited basically. Why? Because there are many tasks basically which Indian nationality basically do of Christian people basically. There are many tasks basically. Because in blood cells basically it's not written that basically it's a Christian blood cells. But Jesus Christ blood cells basically is the Christian blood cells. Who basically believe in Christian basically. Who believe in God basically. Who don't believe in God, then basically they don't read the Bible, they don't basically go to church, they don't drink water from church, they don't eat anything basically from church. So there is no basically meaning basically. So that is basically different group basically. So that are basically different views basically. So one other person told that that is basically different views basically, you can say. That is a different view. So one person told that uh, that India account basically contains religious wise account also basically. Religious wise account. And they have to keep the religious wise account basically. Church money basically. The church money basically, church trust basically are connected with the Christian money only basically. Christian group only basically gets the help. And he basically, anybody basically want to join the Christian from Hindu, they basically get help. That means basically Hindu groups are basically bekar. That basically connected like that only no, basically. And then basically they will prove that basically the Hindu group basically prove that basically ये बेकार था इसलिए हमने निकाला. He was basically bekar. Bekar means he was not basically worth basically. So everywhere basically it's like that only basically. Nobody basically, no religion basically except the fault basically. That is basically in blood only basically. One person told that basically Sunil यार तेरी मतलब you are not doing the this good thing basically. You are basically not good into the project management side basically. But his intention basically was something else basically. His people basically want to shift into the his people basically is supposed to be shift into the project management basically. One, I will take one example. In Bangalore basically, one Karnataka person basically was a software delivery head. So he basically told that basically to human resource basically that I want Karnataka local people only basically. I don't want any other people basically in my team. He already told to human resource basically. So human resource is basically going to, human resource basically are kept basically why? To do the task of the company, and company task who is doing? The software delivery head. And software delivery has already informed that he wants those people only. So whether basically if I am applying there basically, I will not get the job. Whether basically I have a good knowledge or basically not, I can basically handle project easily or not basically. So here basically there is no meaning of applying only basically, because he has already decided that he want Karnataka people only basically. So it's like that basically. Whether I will basically apply basically from this that basically I will not get the job. Then one of the person told that Sunil, you visited Polaris, you visited these, you visited Eclairx, you visited 3 and Infotech, you visited IBM, you visited Microsoft, you visited Emphasis, you visited Patani, you visited Capgemini, you visited Accenture in Bangalore. When basically I visited Bangalore city basically for searching job, that time basically I had not got the job. Why? Because the plan basically might be there basically, because it's not like that basically I don't know anything. From video basically you can judge basically I have a good knowledge basically of management side basically, and I was a good developer also basically. That time basically when I had applied to Bangalore, that time basically I was a developer basically. Then basically I shifted to management side basically. Because in market basically there are many developers basically, so you have to leave your space and you have to shift to other post basically, that is you have to go ahead basically, that is project leading or project management side basically, that is the project manager. And after management basically you have to shift to the delivery head basically. Then basically after a certain time basically you have to leave your space also basically, you have to go to, it might possible that basically one person basically comes into the software delivery head and he basically do his tasks totally differently basically, and there basically software delivery head group basically will software management team basically will might get some new information basically from this video basically. From 3 video basically there are many things basically which India account creator basically might not be knowing only basically. From this video only basically if one of the person basically any of the person basically will watch this video, he will say that basically यार ये मतलब ये चीज़ we have not done that basically. So that is basically not different topic basically. I have taken one example. The chartered accountant group basically can't handle India account. Why? Because when chartered accountant degree they have taken basically, that time basically the boundary was there. Because when they thought, when they got 90%, assume that basically highest percentage the person basically was got, that was 90 percentage or 95 percentage, highest basically. Why? Because when he was thinking basically that time the boundary was drawn basically, the chartered accountant book basically when it was created, that time the doctor has given the certification that basically this will be the boundary of chartered accountant industry. They have already given the certification basically, you can't think beyond this. So they have already got the certification. So now basically you will say that basically by create the India, maintain the India account, do the job in India account, that is not possible basically. Why? Because when chartered accountant degree was created, that time only basically they have done that boundary basically. So now basically you will try anything basically, you can't understand the India account. So for there basically either basically chartered accountant group basically have to design the chartered accountant degree according to the this account, that is India account, and many people basically might not be knowing about the India account also. Then basically chartered accountant industry basically might be knowing, the group who created the chartered accountant. So one of the person told that this is also basically like that only basically. India account basically. So one of the person told that it's basically not easy to handle any of the thing basically, because education basically is a totally boundary basically. Any of the certification you take BTech degree. BTech is created from B basically. So B group basically has drawn their boundary, and according to the boundary basically, few boundary basically they have drawn basically. MTech, ME, Chartered Accountant Industry, ICAW, BCom, MCom. In 12th standard basically, if if you study deeply the accounts in 12th standard basically, you will see that their chartered accountant little bit topic is there basically. Chartered accountant little bit materials are there basically when you read the chartered 12th standard accounts book basically, because they have given it basically. Why they have given that? When basically you are doing the commerce basically, that time whatever subject basically are at the top level of the commerce basically, MBA is there, CA is there, ICW is there, then basically the MCOM is there, then basically the auditing is there. This every material basically is given in the 12th standard book basically. If you study deeply basically, 12th account basically. So one of the person told that who actually studied the 12th account very deeply basically, he basically can understand the chartered accountant also basically. From there basically he can understand the chartered accountant. From there basically he can understand the MBA also basically. Because economist book basically of the economic book of the 12th standard basically, that contains MBA material also basically. So from there only basically they generate the chains basically of the MBA chain, of the ICWA chain, of the CA chain, of the auditing chain. So you can just understand basically what actually I want to say. So the person basically who are into the book creation, who basically are into the accounts book creation, chartered accountancy book creation, they basically are up to that level basically, and they gets money also up to that level. They get the good post up to that level. Why? Because they are drawing the boundary. But they know that basically chartered accountant is created from 100 cities. They don't know that basically. The people who creates the books basically. But they should know actually that chartered account is created from this 100 city. So they have to visit that city basically. Or basically they can't visit the city basically. It's not possible to visit the city. The 100 city basically you can visit. You can basically globally view the city also basically. That this is that city basically. From this number ka problem idea comes. So at least basically you will get basically, yeah, basically from this area basically this books ka this number problem basically is coming idea basically, the view basically, the thinking basically. So one of the person told that, yeah, that's very dangerous thing, yeah, basically. If that area basically gets damaged, then entire chartered accountant books basically get damaged basically. So chartered accountant books are connected with chartered accountant certification are connected with that 100 city basically. And that chartered accountant book is connected, that chartered accountant area basically which is created, that is 100 city, that are connected with 101 time ended world basically. Their views and ideas are put into this 100 city, but which ended world basically, that is very difficult to track. That only the universe group can track, who actually created the world. They know that this number world basically when it was ended, that time basically the people thinking was this all basically ideas was generated in the world basically. So that is chartered accountant data in accounts, that is India account, and that is created by 100 cities. So chartered accountant group basically, entire group basically investment basically, that is the banks group basically who do the investment basically. So banks groups are very dangerous group basically. I am telling basically they basically decides their future basically. I am telling you basically the bank's top level executive directors, the CEOs, bank managers, they actually decide the future of the certification actually. If they want to finish the certification, they can finish. If they say that basically this certification we have to grow, they can basically do that. Up to that level power basically they have. So they basically can't misuse the power basically. So if anybody told that basically we want to modify this chartered accountant degree on the base of India account, currently it is 100 city. So banks can do that basically. Banks can do means they can only design the product basically, but they can't design the city basically. But they can map the investment basically. That this, for example, they basically told that basically there are around assume that basically 12 to 13 books. In that 12 to 13 basically books, we have to add few things, few problems basically which will connect to the India account also. That to that level thinking basically will connect, so that basically whenever the chartered accountant group basically comes out, they can basically join that India account creator group also. So one of the person told that this only basically can happen on the base of banks, and banks basically will, how basically the banks will say that basically yeah basically we will do the investment. How basically they are basically not chartered accountant group basically. How they decide success, that is the basically big question basically. One of the person told that that is actually because they decides the future basically of the one certification basically, and that's very dangerous basically. They decides whether the BCom certification area basically is supposed to grow or basically it's not supposed to grow. They decides the B certification is supposed to grow or not supposed to grow. MTech, BTech, MCA, chartered accountancy degree, it should grow or it should not grow. So they decides, but they decides how basically. One of the person told that बैंक वालों को तो क्या पैसे से मतलब है, बैंक वालों को तो खाली पैसे से मतलब है ना, दे जस्ट अंडरस्टैंड मनी लैंग्वेज, बट इट्स नॉट लाइक दैट. Banks are connected directly with the World Bank basically, and World Banks are connected with the World Health Organization basically. So it's a huge process basically you can say. But banks basically change the entire certifications basically. Which certification is supposed to end, which certification is supposed to not to end, which certification is supposed to modify, which certification is, which part is supposed to delete. So one of the person told that it's very dangerous. Education sector basically, it seems to actually education sector is a big business basically you can say. It's not basically previously basically it was not that basically, but nowadays basically people understand this, understood basically that education actually is a one business basically. Some group basically might have understood that basically, and they basically created one business basically, because business creation basically is also one of the skill basically, because previously education was not a business basically, but now basically they have created education as a business. Now basically the education creation as created as a business basically, and that basically it's very dangerous basically. The people who have the good money, that like Harvard is there, Oxford is there, they have basically good money, so their sikka basically is very high fi basically. But it might possible that basically one normal institute person basically also can take takkar with Harvard and Oxford also basically. It's not like that basically one normal person basically can't beat the Harvard and Oxford group basically. Everywhere basically money doesn't comes into the picture. So here basically the topic is chartered accountant degree. We will not take chartered accountant, education degree we will take. Education degree is basically one account information that comes into the tax. In tax only everything comes basically. Tax credit, tax debited. That's all. Inside tax basically everything basically comes. So one of the person told that everything basically, each and every India account basically, each, for example, education sector, it's connected with some barter system basically. It's connected with the barter system basically of few group basically. So India account is connected with some barter system basically. India account is connected with some barter system basically. When barter system gets changed basically, here India account also basically gets changed. So one of the person told us, Sunil, you are basically money not getting the money. That is might be connected with that barter system also basically. Each and every individual accounts are basically handled in that India account. But India account basically is not created directly basically. It's connected with the barter system basically. One example I will take. When basically you can decide that basically chartered accountant people also basically can jump into the India creation account, India modification account, because currently basically there is no chartered accountant people basically, and people basically might not be knowing that also basically that India account is there. India account is there basically. Any of the not a single basically software company basically might be knowing that basically this type of account exists also. In basically simple language, the software industry basically knows everything basically, which account exists, which account does not exist. So India account exists, that they basically might be knowing, but few group basically might be knowing. Text box equal to 1,000 cities. 90 percentage, not 90 percentage, means 98 percentage software company people basically of India basically don't know that text box is created from 1,000 cities. If anybody want to confirm this basically, you can send the SMS to each and every company owners and each and every company software delivery heads, CEOs, vice president, directors. Ask them basically, text box is created from 1,000 cities. 1,000 is basically just taken as a number basically. The combo box, radio button, buttons, checkbox, text box are basically created from 1,000 cities. They will say that basically, I think you are basically using asking a rubbish question basically. They will say basically like that basically. And if you ask Mumbai people basically, then they will say that अरे भाई कौन है, मतलब कोई पागल है क्या, मतलब they basically will say that, because they say that basically we are the number one. Beyond Mumbai city basically nobody is there. Mumbai people basically thinking is like that basically. Why basically it's like that, that basically I don't know. So each 98 percentage, I'm telling you, 2 percentage people basically might be knowing that yes basically a text box is created from 1,000 cities. You are correct. 1,000 basically I have taken just as a number basically. 1,000 I have just taken as a number basically. So one of the person told that text box equal to 1,000 cities, no basically. So one other person told that in education basically this basically computer comes, it comes na basically, education sector basically this is the education na basically, but in utility basically computer basically creation comes basically. So one of the person told that yes here basically matlab barter system is directly affecting to the accounts, India accounts basically. Barter system is directly affecting the India account. So in next video basically we are going to see a little bit more about this topic.